Yeah, that's good for our brain. Walking down to the country more of the Iran conflict. So, 60 days from when U.S. launched Operation Epic Fury, the deadline under 1973 War Powers Resolution, by which Trump either gets congressional authorization to continue the war, or is theoretically, anyway, legally required to end it. Let me give you a guess. He's doing neither. Let me explain the law before we get into the politics. The War Powers Resolution was passed in 1973 over Nixon's veto, specifically to prevent presidents from waging unauthorized wars indefinitely in the wake of Vietnam and the manufacturing of the Gulf Tonkin incident. The statute is clear. If the president introduces armed forces into hostility without a congressional declaration of war, he has 60 days to get authorization. After 60 days, he must either terminate operations, he can claim a 30-day extension, but only withdraw safely, and ask to keep fighting. Trump formally notified Congress of the Iran strike on March 2nd. 60 days from that notification, May 1st. By the real count, that begins from February 28th, the day that strikes actually began. So the deadline is theoretically today, depending on which clock you use, today or Thursday. Doesn't really matter. But Trump is not going to Congress. He's not seeking authorization. He told reporters last week he will not be, quote, pressured by timelines, end quote. Vance said in January that the War Powers Resolution is fundamentally a fake and unconstitutional law. Some would argue that going to war without congressional authorization is as well, but that's executive branch theory. The White House said it's an active conversation with the Hill, which is not at all the same as submitting a formal request for authorization. Congress, for its part, has failed literally 5 Senate votes and 2 House votes to force a War Powers Resolution Act. Every vote has failed largely along party lines. Democrats don't have the numbers, and Republicans who privately oppose the war basically won't break with leadership publicly, except for Mr. Massey. The constitutional reality that's being sidestepped is that the War Powers Resolution has never successfully ended a military action. Presidents Clinton, Obama, and now Trump have all exceeded or disputed the 60-day threshold. Courts have consistently refused to weigh in, treating it as a political question in the nation that, politics end at the water's edge, and thus a dispute between the executive and legislative branches, which means the law exists, the deadline is real, but there's no enforcement mechanism. In practice, that means that Trump will either request a 30-day extension, claiming unavoidable military necessity for safe withdrawal, even though he's not withdrawing, or he'll simply ignore the deadline and dare Congress to do something about it. Like I said, Thomas Massey, the Republican congressman, one of the few who's pushed back consistently, told reporters the 30-day extension is perfunctory and will happen automatically. The real deadline to watch is May 29th. 90 days. War prosecuted, passes legal deadline. No deal. No exit.